last Sunday at the church, and I think a good discussion.
Yeah.
I think-
Productive.
Yeah, productive, and so we're gonna roll out some just evolution, some just refreshing as time goes on, some format changes, some just like building grounds upkeep stuff, and so we'll start that probably Chelsea Sissio praying, and my dad might have hacked your wife's Facebook account.
Mike Pace, cyber hacker.
My face, cyber hacker. Too funny. But anyway, so yeah, so we had a good meeting, and we're just keeping up, not keeping up with the world, but just keeping up as society. And the way you communicate changes. This is even unheard of. The fact that we would have done this a few years ago. So we're just doing some refresh and updates, and then if you know, Chelsea's funny, if you know me and Jonathan's character, I would hope you know that we love this little church and we want the best for it. So as we move forward, we'll move forward together.
Yeah.
On that. So handle Halloween.
Yeah. So we did
Trunk or
trunk or treat on Saturday at John Trumbull Primary School. It was a nice day. It was really hot too.
It's hot. It's been hot.
Yeah. I keep telling everybody, Leo just cracks me up. I don't, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. He has the Sissio genes and just a naturally funny kid. But I was at dinner with at my in-laws a couple weeks ago, and for whatever reason he puts on like these crazy faces and voices. He does voices.
Really?
So he
like impersonation voices?
Yeah, kind of.
Really?
He doesn't realize he's like impersonating someone, but it's like a funny thing. So my brother-in-law Jake Longo goes, "Hey Leo, what are you gonna be for Halloween?" He looks like this. He goes, "Donald Duck." So that's what he's
That is awesome.
Donald Duck. So yeah, Leo was Donald Duck. Nico was Goofy. I put my best Mickey costume on, and my wife was Minnie. So we were the Mickey Mouse crew. It was good. It was fun.
Man, parents, it's never mind Facebook Watertown Talks groups, but man, parents are absolutely bananas. The way they go all out.
Mm-hmm.
I told you when we were there last week, I said, dude, some of these parents go all out in some of their displays, the way they get into it. I mean, some of the costume. That was my first trunk or treat ever. I've never done that before, but it was absolutely something. So you went sponsored as Disney.
Yes.
Luca is
Checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail. I know. You have your choice in life, depending on what social economic class you're in, to visit two mice. If you're one group of people, the mouse you get to see is Mickey Mouse. If you are in a different class of economics growing up as a child, the other mouse you see is Chuck E. Cheese, right? We're talking thousands of dollars of difference. So in any event, you're sponsored by Disney. Luca is going as a construction worker builder who is a pilot on his lunch break. And Gio is dressing up as a rocket ship.
A rocket ship.
And he absolutely
That cracks me up.
he is our little rocket.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Little Einsteins. Do you ever watch Little Einsteins? What is Leo's favorite show right now?
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Oh man, I watched it like 2 times this morning. What time does he get up in the morning?
7:30.
That's what time he wakes up? We're having lunch at 7:30 in the morning. No, we watch the I think we're watching the tail end of all the Australian version.
Yeah.
Because it's 5 o'clock in the morning when we start watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. But it'll be fun. We'll probably just pass out candy and do that. Are you going to go around the neighborhood or probably not?
Probably not. Well, we did it last year with Leo. We went just around to our family's houses on the day of Halloween. So.
That may totally stop one day, but I'll be looking forward to the update next year, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Speaking of next Wednesday, there's a World Series happening also, which is probably going to be one of the lowest rated World Series watches in a long time.
Yeah, go Phillies.
So I know a couple who the wife is a Yankee fan and the husband is a Met fan, and they have no idea what to do this weekend.
No, yeah, two sad teams.
Yeah. It's tough. But the Philly fan base was absolutely. I think Philadelphia was like the craziest venue it's been. I mean, they're in the fifth inning with one out. They're going absolutely bananas.
In terms of fan energy, I think the Phillies have a way better edge
Oh my gosh.
than the Astros.
Oh, than the Astros.
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas is totally different.
I mean, Philly's just a crazy sports town in general.
Oh, they're nuts.
But
They're nuts. But I'm gonna go. This is also being recorded, so I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Astros in 6.
I was gonna say Phillies in 6.
Really? I'm gonna go with the sweep. I think the sweep's gonna buy them a little bit of time, a little bit of energy. I mean, they're coming off hot, four wins in a row, and Schwarber and Harper is just it is hard. It's hard to fight against that. Well, anyway, it'll be fine. It starts. We are sponsored by Fox Sports.
Yeah.
World Series starts Friday, 8:00.
Does Joe Buck still do it?
No.
because he's not signed with Fox.
So yeah, he's on ESPN Monday
He's on
Night Football,
ESPN.
and I've always wondered that because a lot of people don't like Joe Buck.
I don't like Joe Buck as a football announcer.
I love him at baseball.
Me too. His voice in October.
That means it's a big game.
Yeah.
If I always used to think if you're in your house and Joe Buck is calling a game in October, it's a big game.
Yeah.
And not having Joe Buck, I actually felt the same way. I was like a little like TBS dude. Okay, it's like such a yeah. So yeah, ESPN. It's actually weird. I watched Monday Night Football recently just so I can hear Joe Buck say Joe Buck on ESPN because
Yeah.
that's something that
So weird.
Yeah. So I grew up with Joe Buck and Tim McCarver, and then
Mm-hmm.
it changed. But Joe Buck classic. Foul ball quickly. Strike 2. Joe Buck is great. But anyway, so there's some pop culture news. So Michaela likes Taylor Swift. I don't know if Chelsea's a Taylor Swift person or not.
Yeah, kind of.
Does she dabble?
No.
She dabbles. Michaela likes early Taylor.
Yeah. I was never a Taylor Swift fan. but
No, me neither. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't really get the whole Taylor Swift thing at all.
I mean, I go on Twitter now and then, but Taylor Swift fans, it's like a lifestyle for them.
Absolutely.
Like when she announced what we're going to talk about, well, I guess it's not a secret, her album.
You heard it here first.
When she announced it, like back in like I think September, there were literally like women, like moms,
I
like
know.
grown women, like
I know.
crying for this album. Like they put Taylor first, Taylor Swift above like their families. Like
I
it's
know.
crazy. I don't get it.
I don't get it. I have one of my coworkers. He's 40 years old. His wife is 40 or 41 years old, and she loves Taylor Swift. And the same thing. I mean, the same type of energy. And to each their own. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, she dropped her album at midnight. It's called Midnight, Midnights, whatever it's called.
And then she had like a 3 a.m. second album release.
Did
It
she
was, like,
really?
a second half of it. A little extra for me.
Well, you can do that. But I have some information here for you. So I just
yeah, roll them off.
All right, so here's something I did. Here's something I did for Jonathan. So in we're gonna tie some pop culture into Recharge tonight. So as we said, Taylor Swift, she released her album last week. Everyone went bananas, whatever. But you talk about people going bananas. She broke 3 Spotify records, which I had to look up what Spotify was. But she broke up. I also have to look up what Venmo was. But she broke 3 records on Spotify. Let me just give them to you. So Taylor Swift, her album that hit last week was the most streamed album on Spotify in 24 hours. The album was streamed 184.6 million times. Record number 1. Record number 2, most one-day streams of an album on Spotify, 186 million. That sounds like the same thing I just said. But most streamed act on Spotify in 24 hours, 228 million streams. So that got me thinking. So I having children, I happen to use YouTube as a tool. So I was kind of poking around, and I found some interesting stats. So I'm going to give Jonathan a little bit of trivia tonight. Let me just pull up my notes on here. So I did top videos on YouTube by view, and it's not just songs. It's all videos, but I will grant you that the ones I'm going to rattle off are all songs. All right, so it just happens to be that these are songs.
Am I guessing?
You're going to guess 1 and 2. I think you know number 1.
I definitely know 1.
I know you know 1. You know how I know 1? You told me it last year. That's how I found out it was
Is it
number.
It's 11 billion.
I'll tell you when I'm ready to tell you about it. So here it is. So the hang on a second here. I just lost it. I want to go back to it. So so here it is. So the number 1 video on YouTube by views, number 1 is what, Jonathan?
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark. Baby Shark is the number 1 video on YouTube
And I can tell you
by
why.
views because we have 2 million of them just from us.
Yes. I mean, I can imagine every kid in the world, not just America, getting a hold of their parents' phone
Yeah.
and just scrolling on back to watch it again over and over.
You think of how many children in the world, and that's multiplied by
over.
12, 11 times. That's so true. Or
It
however-
makes so much sense.
That does make sense.
I can't comprehend the 11 billion. I can't comprehend that number, but
There are how many? Are there 6 billion people on the planet Earth?
Yeah.
11 billion views. Now, I will say this too. The average, and now correct me if I'm wrong. Nick says he watches Baby Shark all the time. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. And if you're watching live, maybe you can help me too. But I heard on the radio, so you know it's true, that the average payout for an advertiser. Ooh, here's another question for you. I didn't do this yet. Average payout for an advertiser per view cost. You understand the question? If you're MasterCard, right, and Taylor Swift Midnight Song just came out, right?
How,
You're going to pay per view. You pay per view, I guess is how it is.
right.
How much do you think it costs? The average
For
cost.
one ad,
For one ad per view.
$10,000.
No, you're missing the question.
I was highballing it. Okay.
No. What does Mercedes pays per view? Now you just say they paid $10,000 per view.
Okay, so
So that means they
$1.
okay, it's 18 cents.
18 cents.
18 cents per view. On Baby Shark at 11.34 billion views. On an average of 18 cents per view.
You crunch the numbers?
I crunched the numbers, and I have it as here. $1.4 billion in revenue from a title sponsor, right? By the way, of things that we all just wait for that little box that says skip ad, for crying out loud, which you probably pay less for that one. But isn't that insane?
Crazy.
Is that not insane? All right, so we have to get moving because time is moving. But all right, number 1 video on YouTube, just in relation to Taylor Swift, and we're going to do another one, is Baby Shark. But you know number 2, and there's a reason I'm going to tell you that. Number 2 video on YouTube.
Is it Despacito?
For crying out loud.
The only reason I know that is because, again, it's an international song. So
Fair enough.
you're getting the entire world viewing that video.
I think Baby Shark and all right, but how many? I'm holding this like it's written on here. How many views? Baby Shark's at 11.34 billion views. How many views do you think Despacito is sitting at right now?
1 billion.
No, it's 7.8 billion.
Okay.
And I thought that was low in relation to Baby Shark. but you wanted to have Baby Shark
I want
have
Baby
10
Shark,
billion
like,
more
up here
views.
and then the next one down there. Yeah.
All right, and I'm not going to guess, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to have you guess the next two I'm going to tell you.
Go for it.
Number 3 is one I never heard of, Johnny, Johnny, Yes, Papa.
Yeah, that's
Is
another.
that a song?
That's a kid's song.
Oh my gosh.
It goes, Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa.
And people, all right, well, whatever that was.
People watch that. Yeah.
I'll tell you how many people watch that. 6.3 billion people watch something I've never even heard of until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Number 4, number 4 is Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. Poor Ed's only sitting at 5.7 billion views.
Wow, I did not expect that one.
Ed Sheeran, we're catching up to you, by the way. You better watch out.
Mm-hmm.
You better watch out. So that also made me think of, so that was top on YouTube. And I want to give you the top 4 contemporary Christian song by views, and then we're going to get rolling into things. Christian. Number 1, How Great Is Our God? How many views? The Chris Tomlin, How Great Is Our God on YouTube. How many views?
100 million.
28 million views. Here I Am to Worship by Hillsong. Views.
15 million.
93 million. Beat out How Great Is Our God. Mighty to Save, your favorite.
Hillsong. 50 million.
14 million. The Winner, I Can Only Imagine, Mercy on Me.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you might see that at Bible Church one Sunday because I figured that out. Mercy Me, I Can Only Imagine has 108 million views. The original. Now, you have to remember, too, I mean, we're talking about the Chris Tomlin version. I'm sure you and I probably have 12 million views on the versions that we play. In any event, I just thought that was interesting. But what Taylor Swift, the power that to garner 225 act streams in a 24-hour period, it's just fascinating to me. That I can only imagine has been out there for 20 years.
That was early 2000s.
Man, did you see the movie, the Mercy Me movie? I Can Only Imagine, or it's called Imagine or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommended with a box of Kleenex to watch. It's how they wrote that song and how Mercy Me kind of came together. My parents saw Mercy Me live in concert at the Oakdale, that's Wallingford.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try to go again because it was an absolutely amazing time that they had. But that song was just transcended everything, and
They're still putting out songs and albums and stuff.
they are. The best Christian concert that I ever went to, and best being a relative term though, is it was so great I forgot what it is. Casting Crowns, believe it or not. Like they would sing a song and they would pray like after every time they sang a song, and it was just like an unbelievable night. Well, in any event, there's your top Christian music by views.
Headlines brought to you by
Headlines,
Sprite.
headlines, 8:32 past the hour. Let's go to Chelsea Sissio with a live look in Watertown. Chelsea, in the McCafe Chopper 880. How's it looking down there in Watertown? Michaela is our ground reporter,
Yeah.
and my mom is broadcasting from the Watertown Talks Waterbury studio. Oh, in any event, just a couple programming notes here. Every week's gonna we'll just change it up a little bit every week, but this is gonna be mostly our format. Chelsea said it has been resolved.
DEFCON 1.
DEFCON 1. So a couple programming notes. I've reached out to a couple people. Empty grenade, Chelsea said in Watertown. Good news in Watertown, Starbucks is probably back open. So I've reached out to a couple people because we're gonna have some guest spots here as we do this weekly. We're gonna do this mostly weekly. There are gonna be some weeks where we can't do it because we'll be down here practicing for Sunday or music, whatever it ends up being. But I reached out to my father, who spoke at Recharge a couple years back about anxiety and depression and all that, and I reached out to him and it kind of forced him to do it. Now he'd be very happy to do it. So maybe in a couple weeks we start doing that. we are going to be a couple weeks in, and then Thanksgiving is already at the end of the month, so we might only have 3 or 4 weeks, which is bananas. That, by the way, we're going to have most likely Praise and Pie, which is just a service here at the end of November, where we do some hymns and so we pray, we discuss thankfulness. That's a Wednesday. We won't be here for that. None of that matters right now. So because of our meeting on Sunday, and this overall theme of just being movable, being movable without being moved, right? We don't want to be moved, but we want to be movable. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So the topic that we're actually, now that we've had our fun, the topic that we're gonna kind of roll into tonight, the topic introduction is being moldable. And Jonathan, I am gonna make you grab a Bible.
I got it on my phone.
You got a Bible on your phone. So it's all you young people. So Jonathan, I'm gonna have Jonathan go read our scripture tonight. Our scripture is gonna be Jeremiah 18, 1-6, and just listen to the words from Jeremiah.
Yeah, here we go. At the potter's house. This is the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message. So I went to the potter's house, and I saw him working at the wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay was marred in his hands. So the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as seemed best to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. He said, "Can I not do with you, Israel, as this potter does?" declares the Lord. Like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand, Israel.
God's ticked off a little bit, but keep that up there on your phone, or just keep it like somewhere around there. Remember, there's the old song we used to sing. You are the potter, I am the clay. Take me and mold. We're probably gonna get a copyright hit on that.
Yeah, especially when you say that.
Yeah. Being moldable, sometimes we think we're the potter when we're really the clay. And, in that scripture, it's really the potter says, hey, listen, you made something, it's not working, whatever it is, throw it out and start over again. And God says to Israel, am I no different than that? And I think it's about just knowing who we are in relation to God, right? I think it's knowing that, hey, listen, I didn't put me here. From dust I came, from dust as the Catholic saying used to be, from dust I came, from dust I can return.
Right.
A little awe-inspiring when you actually look at it that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are things in life that we need to do. I'm going to ask you a question here in a second, John, but there are things in life where we really need to be movable and flexible and willing to adapt in our nothing what we've been talking about last week really, but in our life where things happen and we kind of have a choice in it, and it gives us an opportunity to be molded by God. And I sent this to you earlier. I don't know if you even had a chance to think about it, but is there an area in your life where you've had to let go?
Yeah, I mean, first, just to add to your point, like, I feel like you're not living your life if you're not accepting to any sort of change. And I'm not saying everybody accepts change, but you have to at some point. You have to come to those crossroads. For me, I personally, my job title at work is continuous improvement manager, and I am the resource to constantly change and improve the company. And I do okay with that. But personally, in my personal life, I hate it. I hate change.
I know.
And I think that's more of just like, I want to change my company. I don't want to change my personal life.
Yeah.
But I mean, Chelsea can attest to this too. She always pushes me and and
Wow.
for the better, to look forward to change in life.
Yeah.
And for me, put me on the spot. I
Yeah.
I, I will say the decision I had to make for us to try for our first kid, for Leo, was one of the hardest things I've had to commit to and accept to be moldable and movable.
Where you feel like God said it's time.
Right. And even after we tried, I still had those feelings of maybe I'm not ready, um, and I quickly learned, and it didn't really hit until Leo was actually born,
Yeah.
that this is the greatest gift God can give me. But again, Leo becomes 1 year old, and
Well.
Chelsea comes again and says, "Hey, let's have number two."
Time to be
And-
moldable again.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the same process, and it's just a constant. It's not a struggle, but it's something that I feel. Hey, everything to me right now looks great. God has blessed me. If I could live this day that I just lived for the rest
know.
of my life,
I know.
I would be fine.
You and I are very similar like that.
And the constant reminder from God in my heart, that hey, I have these thoughts in my head, but God proves me wrong every time, and that immovable grace that He has to allow me to get through those struggles, time after time. It almost feels like I look back and I say, what was I even thinking?
Yes.
Look what I got out of this.
Don't you feel like you wish you knew Leo one day even prior, one day? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? That like,
Yes.
man, why didn't we do this a year earlier?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like who Leo is now,
Right.
and for you to be like, man, like he is your everything, and you had no idea what was coming.
Right.
That's life.
Right.
You had no idea what's coming.
Right.
You took my answer, but, and I'm sure a lot of people probably resonate to that in life. But all right, so the question on the table is area in your life where you've had to just let go, and similar to you, John, I don't like change. I don't. I want to come to the Bible church every Sunday and go home and have my spaghetti and meatballs and have my pecorino romano out of my polio container and all. I want to. For the rest of my life, that's really what I want to do, and I have no shame because my wife knows that too. She knows that, but I really don't like change. I like improving upon and making my current situation better, but I want to work within those parameters of my situation, right? I want to constantly, I love my home. I love Watertown. I love Waterbury. I just want to keep making it better, though. Right. So there's little things like that.
Sometimes you want only what you can control.
Yes, but I'll tell you, just like you said, when everything that went down with my mom over 6 years ago now, when me and Michaela got married, we got married in October, and my mom got diagnosed in the following April. When we got married, we probably thought like kids were like 2 years down the road. We're gonna get married, we're gonna go travel like we got Paris, travel like I don't know, like go to New Haven for lunch. That's all I want to do. But we want to have all the we want to just I don't know, date each other after marriage, I guess, for whatever, watch TV together or just do something. And we got like 6 months out of that. So, but I didn't even know how many kids I even wanted to have. I knew I wanted to have a kid because that was just part of it, I guess. But I this idea of like kids plural and that whole life really didn't speak to me. I just got to be honest. But when you're called to be clay and called to be movable, let me tell you something. It was, and I'm not trying to pride myself up, but it was a huge leap of faith to move forward with that process in my life. Luca's, yeah, I've told you this a million times. Luca's entrance into this world was something that came out of a situation that wasn't so great. So he was a blessing coming out of something like his I shouldn't say his entrance into the timing of his entrance into the world. If my mom didn't go through what she went through, Luca might be 2 years old right now. And and just like you, I'm so glad he's here. I'm so glad he's 5.5, and I wish I knew Luca one more day. It's that type of thought process. But I remember being on my knees, terrified, like, Lord, like, I can't have a baby. And he's like, no, Michaela's gonna have the baby. I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. No, in all honesty, it terrifies you. You look around, the house gets smaller. The money, how much money do I have? Do I got to have a minivan? What do I have? What does it mean to be a father? That was probably the biggest moment of letting go in my life, is having that first one. I'll be honest with you. Did you have the similar experience with Nico? Like, after Luca, though, we knew we were going to have a second one, and I didn't care, boy, girl, whatever, just healthy, right? Even not healthy, who cares? Just send us whoever you want. That one I didn't care about as much. Not that idea of being movable didn't bother me as much, because you know why? Because God proved it to me in the blessing of Luca that this is what it can be like. And we still didn't know what to expect with Gio. Gio, we are still unpacking and trying to find out
who Gio is.
I have a love affair with my children, and it's ridiculous, but they are just a bunch of knuckleheads. But because of Luca, and because of, hey, listen, God shows you, listen, John, you have Leo. He's the love of your life. He just did the Donald Duck thing or whatever it is, right? This is your boy, and you know what that's like. You told me stories of coming home from work and just playing on the floor with him or whatever it is, and you know what that's like. And then you know that God can do that again. If this is what it's like to have a kid, Michaela, don't get any ideas. If this is what it's like to have a kid, if we're going to have a second kid, well, Lucas set the standard, and you know what? That's fine with me. That's what trusting God is, where you're terribly nervous, terrified nervous, right? You're going to mess up your life ecosystem. You, Chelsea, your home. I don't know if you were living in Cherry Street at the time or whenever
Cherry Ave, yeah.
Cherry Ave, not Cherry Street. No offense.
Definitely not Cherry
But if you're watching on Cherry Street, we love you. But right, and you had that whole ecosystem, and it's like when it says time to go, you get nervous, but then God says, trust me, and you're like, I guess we'll do this now. I'll be honest, it was like, Lord, I don't really want this. I'm really, really terrified, but I give this to you, and look what he did with it. Look what he did with Leo. Look what he did with Luca.
And
blessing.
And one step further is, because it's not easy being a parent at all, but having the will to have your kids change who you are, or change who my wife is, being accepting to how you'll be continue to be molded by growing with your family, one step further.
Yeah.
That has come to me as an easy and easy change for me, and it's in God's hands, and that trust that I have with God for particularly that reason has been easy for me, and I can't wait to see how that affects me for the rest of my life, because who I am today, 10 years down the road, having a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, who am I going to be then? I can't wait.
I can't wait.
But
I can't wait. We've been given examples by good. You and I have been given examples by good boy parents.
Yeah.
Your parents, I love, right? Your parents are great. Your mom and dad, God knew what he was doing, right? They are great parents for that situation. My parents, the same thing. My dad's a great boy dad. You know what I mean? We're all fellas in that sense, right? As you get older, that's what happens, right? My mom, the same thing. My mom's like, sometimes she's our mom, and sometimes she's our sister, and sometimes, it was just like, we just love having fun. We love ragging. Like, she's really good boy mom. And then Emily comes along, and God's perfect timing, because I think Emily being younger kind of really helped us all out. But the point is, you still get nervous, but God continues to prove himself. John, God has proved proved himself in your life, in my life, just by those two boys alone, where he says, listen, look what I can do.
Right.
Look what I can do. You think you have your life plan? Look what look what's possible. Yeah, that was a big thing. I just want to add a second one that I had, just about being allowing God to work. I'll be straight up. When I left Waterbury to go to college on my college tour, I went to Gordon. I left here with no intention. I shouldn't say that, but I left here probably thinking that I was going to be just some youth director or worship leader or whatever at one of these ultra contemporary churches. I'm going to name drop here, but like Walnut Hill or Fitch or like one of those churches. Who knows, right? And but I don't think investing in here at 30 something years old was part of my plan, just straight up. Because I thought that, like, oh, you go to college, you're born and bred here, and you go to college, and then you get out of college and say, okay, where do I go to work? What should I do? And like, this is just part of that part of your life. And then when I went to college, my love for, dare I say, 240 Dwight Street kind of really grew in that, because I saw how other churches operates, and I saw this and I saw that, and I said, you know what, Lord, I think I'm being a little bit molded here and being a little bit movable, because something that I didn't think I really, really wanted, I'm now a part of. And I want to share something to that end for a second. And I shared this with someone else earlier in the week, and this is about being moldable, right? You and I, God is perfect. Our lives are not perfect, but God is perfect. But there are things that we'd love to improve. We talked about this, whether it's church or even our homes, our work environment, whatever. It's just things we just want to improve and work upon. That's your job description, for crying out loud. But when it comes to the church as a whole, right? If we all play for the same league, right? Sometimes, if you're the Dodgers at 111 wins or whatever it is, if you're the Dodgers are a well-run organization, really good ownership group. They spend a lot of money. They have a good product on the field, and they're winning a lot of games, and they're a successful team in baseball. I don't need to leave Gordon and go join the Dodgers. The Dodgers are all fine. If we all work for the same God, being Christians, if we have the same boss, well, you know what? I think the Athletics maybe need some help here, or the Athletics have. I'm not saying we're the Athletics, but you know what? There's a void here, and there's work to do here. And I think you and I, we're more workers and not watchers. I don't know what I would do if I came here at 10 o'clock in the morning and sat down to 11:15. I wouldn't know what to do. But God did that. Like I molded to where it's like, hey, you know what? Here. And go to work. You might have had these other dreams and aspirations of whatever, but he molds you and changes you to where we're sitting here, where I'll be honest, I don't know if you would have been sitting across from me, 12 years ago, to be honest with you, looking back 12 years from now. And it's just about being movable. But here's another question though too, is and something that I want to ask you regarding work. We know that God is faithful. He's proven that he's faithful just for a ton of reasons, but just using the examples of our kids alone, we know that he's been good and been faithful, and look at my mom and everything. But I have a question written down here too. What if God asks you to change it up more? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. And
terrifying.
It's scary. There is the fear of God, and how is this going to affect my day to day if I'm pushed to change more than I can maybe afford to, or stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
I mean, what I love about the New Testament is just how it's explained to us to have wisdom and to look to your elders for wisdom and carry wisdom throughout your entire life. And I feel, in the past few years that I've, from my family, from my church, from my surroundings, I've had some wisdom in my life to basically say, you know what, whatever I'm asked to do or whatever I need to do, I'm going to trust the Lord and in everything. And that's so much easier to say than it actually is. But, God calls us to do some difficult things that we may not want to, and step out of our comfort zone. And again, it's easier said than done. But the challenges that I might get or you might get, there's pushback at first, but I know the long term God has a plan for my life, for your life, for Chelsea's life, for Michaela's life, and trusting that trust is what kind of gets past that barrier of changing it up more.
Yeah. What if you feel that God's calling you one day? And I've had this, and luckily my boss and my coworkers aren't friends of the Bible Church on Facebook, because here's a question I've wondered, like, am I going to be here, at my employment, right? And I've wondered if you had this question too. Am I going to be here for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
I love where I work. I am spoiled where I work. I really am. It's the best job I ever had. If nobody knows, so you heard about Jonathan's title. So I work for it's a home renovation, and we do a home renovation company. So we, kitchen renovations, cabinets, flooring, we paint. I'm heavily involved in the paint side and a lot of the technical side with paint, high performance coatings, blah 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 blah. But I've always wondered that, I've been doing this. I've been in this industry for 17 years, and since I was like 15 years old, and I wonder that, like, what if the phone rings one day, and it's we're both Italian, but it's an offer that you can't refuse. Have you ever thought, you know what I mean? Just for work. I'm not even saying, having, kids or a cancer diagnosis, sickness, whatever it is. But what if you feel compelled, like, that, hey, listen, I think the Lord's leading me to leave this job. That's scary.
It's heavy stuff.
That's the unknown. Because again, I'm not a changer. When it comes to that, like, I just, man, when it comes to job security, I'm like, I tell the guys I work for, I'm like, listen, you don't have to worry about me. Coffee's great here. We're winning. We're selling. To be honest, like, we're selling. We're making money, and things are happening. It's been a tough year, but, like, we're all in this together. Like, I'm not gonna dip on you guys. But yeah, I've wondered that. Hey, you know what? What if different opportunities come knocking, and I guess you just go to the Lord and say, Lord, what do I do here? What do I do here? But I mean, I don't. For your sake, I'm not going to ask you the question. Do you think you're going to retire with the Siemens company? But
right.
you know what? It's a fair question,
right.
Because we're not done being molded and moved. Because, oh, Lord, you proved yourself. I was really flexible with having kids. I got it from here on out.
Exactly. I'll take it from here.
I'll take it from here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. It's just a part of life, and it's constant. It's continuous. It's going to be the rest of your life that you'll be faced with big change. And again, PPG calls you up tomorrow, says, hey, got an executive position. Director of sales, Tim Page.
That's right.
It's that fear of not having control of your life. What's the unknown?
What's the unknown?
And that, what you can't control, it doesn't require that leap of faith. How is this going to affect my family? How is this going to affect my church? Those types of questions we really can't answer.
Not to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm not trying to go off topic, but Aaron Judge is going through that right now, right? Mm-hmm. So what voice are you listening to? I'm not saying you're listening to God or you're listening to the devil. I mean, voices like, is Aaron Judge going to take take $50 million less or $60 million less to stay in New York, or is he going to go home to San Francisco for the right price, or is he going to go to Pittsburgh? He's not going to Pittsburgh, or is he going to go to the Mets? Like, you really wonder if that next job opportunity or career opportunity comes up, what do you do? We've had people in this church. I'm not going to name names. We've had people in this church who have had this exact conversation. I've prayed with people, and we have just like a secluded room back there if you just need like some quiet time and just space to pray after service. And I remember a couple of years ago, someone was in the middle of a job transition, and they're like, I don't know what to do. And I that is probably, other than go before the Lord and seek counsel, that's one of the most Christian things you can say is, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because the non-Christian response would be like, pay me, I'm out, this, that, whatever. If you're struggling with something, welcome to the biggest fan club, or the biggest social club in the world. Sometimes also change though, and I made a note here. sometimes the things that you mentioned that are out of your control, what do? Just in this church, we've had people in the past year or so who have lost their jobs. In the past year or so, we've had people in this little church here that have gotten a divorce, that have had divorce, maybe a couple people in the past 2 years. There are people in this church that have lost kids at a young age. Garrett, right? I mean, you go back a long time. There's people in this little congregation on Sunday mornings that meet here that have cancer. There's a lot of clay out there. And I'll tell you, to come through the doors on a Sunday morning, this has nothing to do with the Bible church, but to come through the doors on the Sunday morning and say, you know what? I got divorced. I just lost my job. I lost my kids. I have got cancer. I'm coming in on Sunday morning and I'm just going to worship him. Even still, that's being moldable. Lord, listen, my life got jacked up by things that were out of my control, things that were completely out of control, to still be molded, right? You don't want to be the cup that gets molded by God and say, dang it, Lord, why didn't you make me a bowl? Right? You know what I mean? Why did you mold me like this?
Right.
Not only allow you God to be molded, John, but allow him to mold you into what he wants you to mold you to. That used to get me, like, why are there people in this church that could not conceive children? The people in this church that maybe they just, for whatever situation, they never found a spouse, they never got married, never, right? Like, all these things in their life happen. Like, the Lord is still working in their life. Continue to be moldable, things out of your control. Continue to be used. Continue to show up, because those are some of the tough conversations.
Yeah, and all we do is pray about it, and trust the Lord.
Yeah, anxiety. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just to simplify it. I mean, it sounds easier said than done, but that's how I kind of cope with change, and what God may ask me to do is, I talk with Chelsea, I talk with my family, and I pray to God.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else that I would want to do. Other than that.
The last question I had on there, and we're about to wrap this up, but the last question I had on there was, what if you say no to God? And Jonathan, if you said no, if I said no, first of all, as we read in that passage, he'll just do it again. Like, the potter doesn't like what he makes. All right, I'm going to make this again, Jeremiah 18. But if I said no, if you said no, Leo wouldn't be here right now. So who's missing out on the blessing, God or you? You know what I mean? Like God's like, listen, I want to mold you. I want to bless you, right, through certain things, not like, Land Rovers and Mercedes and all that. But I want to bless you with things if you allow me to. Just close your eyes and trust. But yeah, you can say no to where you feel the Spirit's calling you to, and you end up missing out on some of the biggest blessings of your life. Some of the biggest blessings of your life. Listen, we're gonna wrap this up, but I'll tell you, we'll be here next Wednesday, and not to put a different sentiment out there, but we have no idea, John, what life has in store between now and next Wednesday. We have no idea what is outside those doors, or things that might happen in your life that may cause or force you to continue to be moldable in the next 6 days. We have no clue. Listen, that's it for us tonight. Thank you guys for watching. This is going to be posted up on Facebook for a while. Then we'll throw it on YouTube for a resource, and just continue to keep this ministry in prayer, keep this church in prayer, and keep us in prayer. We will see you guys again next week.
Yeah, love you guys.